There is an obvious truth here that we've known for a very, very long time. If you want to take Donald down, if you want to undermine him, unsettle him, push his buttons in a way that reveals his true self to the rest of the world, do not engage with him seriously. What do we say here? Mock him mercilessly, without any kind of compunction, without having any bad feelings about it. Mock him mercilessly without pulling any punches, because nothing breaks him faster. And we've seen this time and time again. This week, one nickname might have just broken him. And here it is. Taco. Taco. It's eloquent in its simplicity because it stands for what? Trump always chickens out. The D for Donald is silent there. So now this is a phrase that is circulating on Wall Street. Again, taco with a silent D, to describe Donald's constant flip-flops on tariffs. And it has sent him into a complete spiral. This phrase was coined by the Financial Times due to Donald's threat of 50% tariffs on the European Union, only to walk back his plan 2 days later. If that sounds familiar, that's because that has been the pattern for the last couple of months. And then at an Oval Office press conference on Wednesday afternoon, CNBC correspondent Megan Casella did what every single journalist should be doing. She brought this up directly to his face. Now, she's a reporter. She wasn't mocking him. She was asking him to comment upon it. Check out and see how it went.
Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, and then I chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country, and because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number, and I go down a little bit, they want me to hold that number. We were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
Oh, shades of Fred Trump right there. Nasty question. Yeah, Donald can't handle it. So again, a shout out to that reporter, Megan Casella. Well done. Because again, she's not mocking him. She's asking him a question about something that is in the news. And people want to know what Donald's perspective is on it. But his perspective is that the question was nasty and he cannot answer it. One, because he actually doesn't know the answer to it. He doesn't understand why he imposed the tariffs in the first place. He probably doesn't even understand why he's been backing off of them, except they have been the source of intense mockery towards him. I mean, obviously, he's not happy about this new phrase. But that's because his ego is so fragile. And instead of answering a perfectly straightforward question, he has to attack the person asking it. We don't have time. I would actually like to see that video again, because you could see as it goes on, his face gets redder and redder. I have no idea why. Maybe because he was so deeply embarrassed by himself. Here's hoping anyway. Of course, his meltdown, it's sort of like the stray sound effect with the silent D, because it's just making this a bigger issue. If you just very clearly and quickly dispense with the question without getting hostile and defensive, it would have gone away. But now there are memes and jokes flying everywhere about taco with a silent D. So let's take a look at some of the better memes that have been spawned by the phrase. First, we have this awesome new addition, MAGA turned taco hat. Trump always chickens out. You know what? I might get one of those, except I would have to have it with a silent D. I think it looks great. And I think that somebody has an opportunity there with a new merch drop, quite frankly. Then we have another AI generated image of Donald as a taco, thanks to Musk's Twitter AI Grok. Okay, so personally, that makes me never want to eat a taco again. So it may not be so great for the taco business, but that's okay because this is exactly what Donald deserves. It's what he's deserved all along. And treating him seriously makes him a serious person in a lot of people's minds. So here we go again. Let's keep mocking him mercilessly. Nobody deserves it more. And again, it is the quickest way to show other people who maybe haven't been paying attention the truth about what a thin-skinned toddler he really is. Of course, karma is never going to be done with Donald because while he was fuming at that press conference, the courts delivered a massive blow to one of his central policies. But before we get into that, just remember that we here at Mary Trump Media are not corporate media. We don't bend the knee. We are not for sale now, and we never will be. We expose the lies the Trump regime tells every day and tries to keep buried. Independent media survives because of you. So please like and share our videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. So just moments after Donald's tantrum about a question about his being called taco, the Court of International Trade issued a brutal decision. Well, for him, certainly not for the rest of us. Many of his most extreme tariffs have been deemed completely illegal. ABC has the details.
Overnight, a staggering setback for President Trump's aggressive trade agenda. A panel of judges on the U.S. Court of International Trade blocking most of Trump's sweeping tariffs on China and other trading partners, determining that they are contrary to law. The move effectively bringing Trump's trade war to a screeching halt. In April, the president declared a national emergency to impose his so-called reciprocal tariffs on goods from every country that trades with the U.S. without seeking approval from Congress. As markets roiled, Trump defiant.
I know what the hell I'm doing.
But overnight, the federal panel ruling that the law does not authorize the president to use emergency powers to issue tariffs, and that his executive orders exceed any authority granted to the president. The judges appointed by Presidents Reagan, Obama, and Trump also blocking tariffs Trump imposed on China, Mexico, and Canada to combat fentanyl trafficking because they do not deal with the threats described in the president's order.
Wait a second. Donald doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? Who could have seen that coming? Also, good luck on the right getting around the fact that there are 3 judges appointed by Reagan, Obama, and Donald. Yeah, sorry. This seems like a done deal. And again, it is just the logical conclusion if you're paying attention. Now, remember, as you saw in the earlier clip, Donald said that 6 months ago, this country was dead as a doornail. But that's back when The Economist was telling us that the Biden economy was the envy of the world. Now, here we are 6 months later, having had for the last few months to deal with Donald's insane, illogical, and deeply destructive tariff war, being told that, wait a second, maybe that was not such a good idea because it's not just wrong, it's illegal. So this is a massive loss for Donald, especially since he has made tariffs the focal point of his policies. As this ruling came through late last night after the markets closed, many news agencies were left to digest this information at what it could mean for the market. No one better than MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell saw the writing on the wall. Take a look at this.
The breaking news of the night is that Donald Trump's illegal tariffs are gone, thanks to a ruling of the United States Court of International Trade. Futures trading is now soaring tonight in the expectation of an explosively positive reaction by the stock market tomorrow when the world will reset itself around the restoration of law and order in international trade and the crushing of the Trump tariffs and resultant personal worldwide humiliation of Donald Trump.
Okay, Lawrence is exactly right here. There was a massively humiliating loss for Donald. But I just want to flag this one thing. First of all, the fallout from his unilateral and completely illogical trade war is still going to be felt by millions of people when the supply chain issues are not yet resolved. It's going to take months to recover from the fact that Donald imposed these tariffs unilaterally. So there's one thing. Second thing, the market is going to recover. Eventually, global trade will get back to parity and prices will lower and inflation will lower. Donald better not get credit for that because he's the cause of this mess to begin with. So we need to hammer that home day after day after day. Let's take a look at just how the market responded to this latest failure. After the court's ruling, markets initially jumped and traders were hoping that the chaos might finally end and that a legally handcuffed Trump regime would stop using tariffs, again, for reasons that surpass all understanding. And for a minute, it worked. Markets around the world seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Stocks surged in Asia, Japan's Nikkei, and South Korea's Kospi, each jumped nearly 2%. Wall Street followed, with the S&P 500 climbing, and the Nasdaq was riding high off of NVIDIA's blowout earnings and the ongoing AI frenzy. But the optimism didn't last. Analysts quickly warned this is a pause, not a fix. The Trump regime filed an appeal within hours of the ruling, and according to the New York Times, they're already asking the courts to let them continue to collect tariffs while the appeals play out, which would be, quite frankly, disastrous. Gary Clyde Hofbauer from the Peterson Institute for International Economics summed it up this way, quote, "This isn't over," unquote. And he's not alone in this assessment. What we're seeing now is the market adjusting, not to clarity, but to a slightly less terrifying prospect, in which, though, the chaos, volatility, and uncertainty created by Donald and his tariffs will continue to play out in one way or another. So the uncertainty is still very toxic. Firms are delaying hiring, they're delaying investments and delaying expansion. CEOs are literally flying blind, not knowing where the goods are going to come from or how much they should order. Trade partners like Japan and Canada are already hesitating to finalize deals because, remember, one, the guy who created this mess in the first place is still ostensibly in charge. And two, we cannot be sure that the Trump regime will follow judicial orders because they seem not inclined to do so in other contexts. So as Reuters put it, a, quote, short-term pop, long-term angst. So sure, the tariffs might be paused, but the damage is done. Business leaders are still skittish. Global alliances continue to fray. There is literally no reason for our trading partners to trust us anymore. And the one thing markets hate more than bad policy is unpredictability. So I want to recap here. Donald, he bluffed. Then other countries called his bluff. He folded like a cheap suit. He got slapped with a nickname that is going to keep him up nights, which makes me happy. Hey, Taco, how's it going? He got roasted by the press. How? By being asked a legitimate question that he couldn't handle. Then he got knocked down by 3 judges, one of whom he appointed, while the market spun into the kinds of chaos we've come to expect, being driven by Donald's very bad policies. So the man who leaves a rage post on his failing social media platform, what have we heard from him? Has he been posting? As of this morning, barely a whisper from him since the ruling. And I think that silence says just about everything. He doesn't know how to respond. He has been completely painted into a corner of his own choosing. So if you ever needed proof that mockery works, look no further than this. Between the memes, the media pushback, and the legal smackdown, Donald is reeling. And the only way to make sure that continues to happen, keep going. This taco moment, it isn't just funny. This is a strategy. This could be a long-term strategy, because when you expose a bully as weak, you take away his power, and then what do? Let him regain his strength? No. You keep going at him. And here's the thing. This is one good thing about Donald that I don't often like to talk about good things about Donald, because there really aren't any of them, but this is a good one. There are so many things to mock about him. Yeah, we come up with a lot more nicknames and hence a lot more t-shirts. So keep calling it out. Everybody needs to keep showing up and keep giving him the respect he deserves, which is to say none. If Donald thinks that he can chicken out on this too, well, we're going to be keeping an eye on all of it. Yes, we're going to be watching. And as is our way here, we're going to be mocking him and documenting every single one of his myriad failures.